Talking about freedom with you today is going to be so special. All species, including us humans, strive to be as free as possible, right? And I have realized recently a whole other level of feeling free than I ever experienced before. And I want to share that with you today. Let's begin. One of the main drivers for us in life is freedom. We do a lot to create more freedom for ourselves. I can still hear my own voice saying the exact words, I just want to feel free. And I bet a lot of you have said or thought the exact same words before. And if you have not, hey, congratulations, because you probably already feel free and I applaud you. It's truly fantastic. For all the rest of us who are still striving for more freedom, this episode is for you. I share with you a misconception that I had for the longest time about how to have more freedom. But very recently, I reflected on this topic and realized that true freedom is created more powerfully somewhere completely different. And obviously, I will explain what that all means and what true freedom now means for me. But let's begin to look back a few years and see what my former self believed being free has to look like. And all of these are, of course, things that I still want to have in my life. They are still important to me, but I realized that even having them does not automatically mean that you feel free. So here's my collection of what I classified as true freedom in the past, my criteria. Enough money flowing to me consistently to do whatever I want and when I want. Being my own boss so I can decide what I do for work and when I work. Not having to rely on anybody and not having other people to rely on me. Being in a relationship where each person can still live their best life and is still free to do whatever they want, to do their own thing. And then being able to travel without any worry about responsibilities, the cost of it, or security. And last but not least, feeling good in my own skin and being happy with how I look. That's the stuff that I came up with when I reflected on my former self and what the criteria were in the past. And I can imagine that a lot of them resonate with you, or that you have similar kind of criteria when you think about what it means to feel truly free. Just reflect for a few seconds and think about your current number one criteria that would make you feel freer than you currently deem yourself to be. What is your hottest topic in your life that by changing or getting rid of it, you would feel so much more free? Take a few seconds and reflect with me here. Well done. Fantastic. And don't get me wrong, all of these criteria that I listed for myself are still important for me to have. But as I said, I know now that I can have all of these criteria met and still not feel free. I can see now that it would not fulfill me long term. Once I would reach all of these criteria, the feeling of freedom that I then experience would disappear after a while, and I would be looking for the next best thing to make me feel more free again. I have had that experience in the past, so I know that that would happen again. And the problem with all of these criteria that I came up with is that they are on the outside of me. These criteria are made up of outside objects or things or people, places, circumstances to make me feel freer. So let's double check what these outside things are based on the list that I've just shared with you. So my first criteria was enough money flowing to me consistently. In that case, of course, the outside thing is money, right? Makes sense. Then the second one was being my own boss. This is about an outside circumstances that I want to have. I don't want to work for somebody, I want to work for myself. So I want to change the circumstance. This third thing was not having to rely on anybody. That is about a kind of relationship I want to have with the people in my life. So the outside factor are people and the relationships that I have with them. The next one was being in a relationship where each person can live their best life. It's the same as the previous one. It's about the relationship with my partner, who is of course a person outside of me. Then we had being able to travel without any worry. In this case, the outside factor is traveling, the act of traveling, the behavior of traveling, or the experience, that's the word, the experience of traveling, or the places that are of course still outside of me. And the last one was feeling good about myself and being happy with how I look. And yes, this one is about myself, but it's still focused on the outside of me, of how I look from the outside. I always thought that freedom has to be experienced. There is no other experience than being in the outside 3D physical world, the reality that we are living here in this world. That's the only freedom there is, right? That's what I always thought. And if you have thought so too, like me, then you just have not known or learned yet about the other way to feel free that is so much more powerful and actually long lasting. So let's do that now. Let me share what I have learned recently that makes me feel freer than the outside criteria that we talked about earlier. What I discovered for myself is that freedom created on the inside is so much better than freedom on the outside. And what the heck do I mean by that? Let me explain. You can create freedom on the inside, and when you do that, you don't care as much about these objects, these relationships, the circumstances anymore. Sure, they are still important and you want them in your life, but you get less rattled, less anxious by these areas in your life where you don't feel free yet. The importance of creating freedom on the outside is decreasing by increasing the freedom on the inside. And once you experience that feeling for the first time, once you have that realization of inner peace and freedom for the first time like I had, I promise you that you want more of it. Because that feeling of freedom is not going to go away again, but is going to compound over time, and it just keeps getting better and better. So let me share with you what it means to create freedom on the inside. What do I actually mean by that? I give you now my new list of criteria for true freedom. The first one is to free myself from being triggered by people or situations in my life, because those triggers create negative emotions inside of us, like frustration, anger, guilt, or shame, or disappointment. And the less something or someone on the outside triggers you, the less you have reasons or instances where you feel those negative emotions. Makes sense, right? The next one is the freedom to not care anymore what others think of you. Oh, that's a good one, right? Can you imagine how free it feels to not care anymore what other people say or think about you? It's priceless, am I right? The next one is to free yourself of old habits. Finally having the right tools at your hand to stop a habit that you tried to get rid of for so many years. It makes you feel immensely free. Then you realize that you've done it once, which means you can do it again with any other habits that you want to get rid of. The next one is to free yourself from harmful behavioral patterns like complaining, judging, talking behind people's backs, or making excuses for yourself. There are other habituated behaviors that you want to free yourself from, like worrying or self-doubt or this negative self-talk that we keep having in our head, right? Or you want to free yourself of outdated and limiting thoughts and beliefs. My thoughts, for example, about my body image, right? They were really harmful back a few years ago, and they cost me so much energy and time and well, kind of my sense of peace, right? By keep having those harmful thoughts about my body and how I look. But being able to let go and free myself of that kind of thinking has been undoubtedly freeing, I can tell you that. And last, but for me, the most important one is to free myself of my emotional addictions. And in this area, I think my greatest success so far has been to free myself from feeling so much guilt and shame inside of me. It's for sure not all gone yet. It's still a work in progress, but it has changed so significantly. I hardly feel guilty or ashamed anymore in my life. And that is a huge difference to how I felt before in my life, where guilt and shame was just an all day round kind of feeling that was keep popping up time and time again. And all of these internal changes have created the biggest amount of freedom I have ever created in my life. No freedom that I ever created for myself in my outer world compares to the freedom I created now in my inner world. And that kind of freedom just keeps compounding. If you can free yourself from limiting beliefs or negative emotional addictions now, just imagine how much that will impact your life from this day forward. You just keep reaping the benefits from it for the rest of your life. And not just you, but the loved ones, the people in your family, the people around you too, right? If I compare this to, let's say, a 2-week holiday that was awesome, and I was traveling across a new country, it was just a fantastic 2-week holiday. But if I compare that now to the freedom that I would feel during that holiday and the freedom that I feel now inside of me, it's a completely different world. It cannot even be compared anymore. If I remember back in the past, as soon as I would be back at work after such a holiday, the benefits of that holiday, that feeling of freedom, of relaxation and recovery had worn off by probably the second week afterwards, and I felt exactly as exhausted and stressed out as before. But being able to free myself from an unwanted habit like, let's say, drinking coffee. In the past, I would drink 4 to 5 cups of coffee every day, and I really disliked that habit. I didn't want to have that anymore. So I was able to free myself of that habit, finally. It's not only giving me the freedom of not needing that coffee anymore throughout the whole day, but as well the health benefits for my body that I get in the here and now, but all the years to come that I do not drink anymore 4 to 5 cups of coffee per day, right? So this is now what I focus my time and energy on, to free myself on the inside. If I am free from being triggered, can let go of hindering thoughts and beliefs, and feel less of those habituated emotional reactions, I just feel more content, calm, and peaceful in my life. And I have total control over that myself. Nothing and no one on the outside, in my outside world, can stop me from freeing myself up more and more on the inside. If I want to feel more freedom on the outside, I have to rely on other people. I have to rely on circumstances changing. I have to influence other people to do certain things for me or to make myself feel more free, right? Makes sense. But if I just focus on freeing up myself on the inside, I can do that all by myself. Yes, I have to learn how to do that, and we will talk about that in a minute, but I don't need anybody else, and nobody can stop me from doing that. So how does this all sound to you? Are you looking for a way to bring more freedom into your life? My advice to you is not to look on the outside of what else you can change to feel more free. Rather focus on your inner world and see what you can free yourself from within. Maybe you already have the right tools at hand to free yourself from limiting beliefs, emotional triggers, and breaking cycles and patterns from your subconscious mind. If you do, then start using them to create the feeling of freedom on the inside and let it shine towards the outside. And if you don't yet know how to do all of that, don't worry about it. Just come and join us inside Energy Academy. I teach you how to do all of it and give you the right tools for you to use for the rest of your life. Imagine how free you could feel and be in just a few months, and then for the rest of your life. So don't wait for another time or a better time to make that change. Make this life-changing step today and join us inside Energy Academy. The link to sign up is below the video, or just go to lindalange.com/Energy Academy. And begin to feel freer by spending your energy and time on your inner world instead of trying to control your outer world. All right, and with that, I love you and leave you. Talk soon and bye-bye.